have you been? You've been here 5 years. What do you do?
This is the first time the podcast starts with a guest asking me a question.
Well, you'll find that with crime writers, we're stubborn and we're curious. I spoke with a journalist once. He said crime writers are the hardest interview because they always want to examine the character of the journalist.
Why do you want to know things?
I think we want to understand the mystery of reviewers to get inside their head. We want to be like, who are you? How can I write books that you will always give a positive review to?
Yeah, I've been here for a while. I've been here for 5 years. I moved here for studies.
Okay.
I studied film, theater, and media at the University of Vienna. Cool. When did you move here?
I moved here 8 years ago. I got my permanent residency just not last year, but the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm really happy to.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
But why did you move here?
I always say, when people ask why I moved to Vienna, I always say that I came for love and I stayed for love. Because I moved here with my ex-husband, and I stayed because I love Vienna.
That's a beautiful answer. You should keep that answer.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But what was Vienna like 8 years ago?
It was.
Now.
I mean, they have this famous phrase that when the world ends, go to Vienna, because there it still won't happen for 20 years. I think it was and is a time capsule of different eras. But when I first moved here, one thing that set it apart was you could still smoke in cafes and bars. I don't smoke, but it gave everything more of this air of
Glamour.
Glamour, but going back in time. I do think it is very good that they changed this because it's horrific for the health effects on the people working in cafes.
Sure, but there should be a few places where they are made just for smoking. I mean, it's because it's not that we live in a tropical country. It's cold, and those places don't exist, which they don't. People don't smoke for 5 months. You'd say, what's the problem with that?
Yeah, I'm like, what's wrong with people? You probably never lived through it, but if you went to one bar in the winter, your jacket reeked like cigarettes for the rest of the winter.
You're underestimating my experience. I'm from the Balkan. This still happens.
Yeah.
So.
Do you smoke?
No.
Okay. See?
I don't smoke, but I understand people who smoke. I would understand how they feel. It's still a lack of freedom.
You can smoke at the Hotel Orient if you are looking for that old-timey feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't help but ask you, you're American, right?
Yes, I am American. How could you tell?
Well, if I didn't hear you talk, then I would have assumed that you're Italian.
Italian. Oh, yeah. My family are Italian Americans. Unfortunately, I don't speak any Italian because in my grandfather's generation, it was insisted that they only speak English. They wanted them to integrate into the United States and so on. And that means that my family lost it by the time.
So you don't have the gabagool, the guma phrases?
I'm not a Jersey Italian.
Okay, where?
I'm from the Boston area. Okay. I do have a little bit of the classic Italian-American personality traits, but I have the most Italian name. And I feel like I have the name of a tall Italian princess, and I am a short, chubby white girl. But, it's a nice name. I'm glad to have it. And I'm using my real name on my book.
Yeah. What do you think about now that you live in a new country? Would you want to do the same with your children? Like to only speak to them in German so they integrate?
I would hope that my children would learn both German and English. Yeah, for sure. I think probably if I had children in Vienna, they would teach me dialect more than, I would teach them German, because that's always the struggle of internationals here, is that the German you learn in a class has nothing to do with the German that's spoken on the streets here.
Yeah.
But actually the book is written partially in Viennese dialect.
Yeah.
So it's implied that in theory, the entire story would have been in German, but has been translated into English. Mm-hmm. I did originally write it in English, but the phrases we did not translate are dialect. Yeah. And I also explain that in context for the readers so that they're not completely out of the loop.
Yeah.
But I have left a few phrases of dialect in there that are just for the Viennese readers, because I think that the English-speaking readers don't need to know everything, and it leaves some in-jokes for people who speak German.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want, you can leave the book where the card is, because it's pretty visible. That's the most visible part. Yes. Looks good. You wrote before this, or at least something I found about what you wrote, was a piece on the New York Times.
Yeah, I wrote a modern love essay for the New York Times.
What is that?
Modern love.
A modern love. So it's it's
a memoir column in the New York Times, and it publishes every week, and it's pretty popular. Mm-hmm. They did also make a TV show, not of mine, but yeah.
How did you end up there?
How did I end up in modern love? I wrote a piece. So the essay I wrote for Modern Love is autobiographical. And before I wrote my novel, all of my writing was storytelling or autobiographical work on my blog.
Mm-hmm. So mostly nonfiction.
Yeah, nonfiction, like memoir. And then the Modern Love piece, I started it as a piece on my blog, and then I performed it in a storytelling show, like a version of that piece. And I saw the audience reaction to it, and I thought, okay, this is something maybe special. 2 people walked out of the audience because they were too emotional to finish hearing the story. And actually, when I told this story on stage, because the essay is about my ex-husband finding out he had cancer while we were separated, and what the dynamics of still being legally married but not married in practice, and being somebody's only family here, because we were both Americans living in Vienna. And at the time I told the story, every time he did a round of chemo, he was having medical complications that were sending him to the emergency room, and we didn't understand what was going on. And so I felt like I needed to be on my phone at all times. And so when I was telling the story, it was the first time in months that I turned my phone off. And I felt like just for the 10 minutes of telling the story, it was sort of like his life was hanging in the balance until I knew and checked my phone again. And so it was a very, I think, interesting experience of just the whole audience kind of holding our breath and that anxiety when you don't know if somebody's going to be okay. But thankfully, he was okay, and he is okay now.
It's good to hear. I didn't want to ask you, thinking I don't know how much you'd like to talk about that piece, but I really, really loved how you wrote that story. It's so honest and raw and understandable and makes sense.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about the Modern Love piece and my storytelling work is everybody always says it's like brutally honest. It's also funny, but dark, but it's my life. And the novel is a work of fiction. So I do think I invite people to read the Modern Love piece, but don't go into reading this book expecting me, because I'm not Sterling. And that is also one reason.
Sterling is the main character of your new novel.
Yeah, Sterling Lockwood is the concierge at the Hotel Orient in the novel. And she is a wild woman. She does have some qualities that I have. When I started writing the book, I was blonde, and I dressed as her for Halloween, and I've been a redhead since. So now everyone goes, "Are you Sterling?" And I'm like, oh God, no. I would have a hangover.
Well, you do have the rose.
I do. I gave her some of my qualities. I made her short, but that was a factor of I don't know what's on the top shelves of the world. And I do like to do a lot of research, but that's my limit. I don't need to know what's up there.
How does someone become a novelist?
How does somebody become a novelist? I mean, there's a quote about just, like cutting your skin open and bleeding onto the page, but I think it is an incredible amount of hard work. The easier way to say how do you become a novelist is first you should be a reader and then a writer. And then becoming a novelist is about making that work. And that is the difference between a hobbyist and a novelist, because it will reach a point where you're not just in that glow of inspiration, and you have to persevere to actually finish the piece of work.
And then how does someone become a published writer? Can you tell me a little bit about
published writer by sleeping your way to the top?
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the journey, because up to writing something, I'm sure that even among our listeners, a lot of people are writing something they want to write, but how do they get published? Especially as a non-native German speaker in Austria.
In Austria. So I am not being published in Austria. I did go through English-speaking countries.
So that's one of the answers. Don't stick to Austria.
Well, yeah, there are some really lovely publishers in Austria. They are publishing in German. The big focus of German publishers is mostly in Cologne, from my understanding, in Germany. There is a great book fair in Vienna every year. It's really nice to go, and you can see all of the publishers, and a lot of them are putting out great stuff, but very few of them are publishing English books or English books in translation unless they are major titles.
Why do you think is that? Why would they reject stuff in English?
Because I think when you are an editor and you're working with an author, it's a very intimate, it's a very precise relationship for an editor to work with an author. And I think most editors are only really going to be working in one language, and the primary audience that these publishers are reaching are German speaking. So they might be translating something, but there are many publishers who buy English books and translate them. And I will have several translations of the book, but I don't actually have a German translation. I would love to have one. I'd also love to see a Hungarian translation, even though my book would be, wrapped in censored paper as queer propaganda, but I would wear the queer propaganda badge with pride. And it's always interesting. I think the German translation was tricky because the book sits between genres, and German readership is a bit more precise in the categories they read. So I call Murder at the Hotel Orient a spicy whodunit. I think that categorizes it pretty well. It's cheeky and funny. It's a nod to Golden Age murder mysteries, but it is a contemporary story. It's in a setting that feels like an old-fashioned mystery.
Let's stick a little bit to the part where I'm still
about publishing.
Yeah, because
so how do you get published? I mean,
tell me how did you get to your publisher? Tell me, how many publishers did you reach out to before? How was the process of getting?
So you have several options if you would like to get published. The first and most effective is to find an editor at a publishing house and collect blackmail on them and hold them for ransom. But if you do not have blackmail on somebody, then if you want to be traditionally, you could self-publish the book. That means you do all the work yourself, all of the editing, or you might have to hire people for cover design. You do all the marketing, and you own more of a share of the profits, but you are still going to have to pay to have it printed or to have it put up online. And that's a great option for a lot of authors, especially authors who have longer books or different books, or who just feel like they can handle it themselves. And if you want to be traditionally published, usually you need a literary agent, because most publishers do not accept unsolicited manuscripts. And to get an agent, you go through a process called querying, where you send a cover letter, a synopsis of the book, and opening chapters. So it is important that you can explain what you are writing in a concise way. And I think the difference is if somebody is asking you what your book is about and you're going, well, it's kind of that is automatically a sign that you should really be thinking about, what is this book? And also, is the pitch that you're giving accurate to the actual book that you have written? Because sometimes you start with one idea and the book changes throughout the course of writing it.
What is your book about?
My book is about the Hotel Orient, which is a real love hotel in Vienna, Austria, that has been here for over a century, but the legend is that it's been there forever in some form or another. It began as a hotel with no name that locals called the Orient because it housed a lot of sailors who worked on the spice trade and were staying there. I prefer to believe the legendary story.
So that's the story, but what is the book about?
The Hotel Orient is completely anonymous, and you can check in under a pseudonym, pay cash, and stay 3 hours and leave without any record of your visit. So it's a love hotel. And in the book, the main character, Sterling Lockwood, has after a wild night. Sorry, let me start again.
I don't know.
In the book, the main character is Sterling Lockwood, the concierge, a keeper of secrets. And after a wild work night, 2 of the guests are found murdered in a locked room. And she had the only other key. So to clear her name, she now has to locate all of the guests who were there that night, but all she has are their pseudonyms and the details she noticed about them at check-in.
Oh.
And in the real hotel, cameras are forbidden. There's a fine if you're sharing photos online of 3,000 euros per photo. I became the writer-in-residence at the Hotel Orient during the research process of the book, and they allowed me to take pictures, but I can't share them.
Of course.
And
does it mean writer-in-residence at the Hotel Orient? Do they have this program every year, or it was a...
They don't have this program every year. This is something I spent about a year researching and getting to know the family, and then I asked if they would allow me to come and use the rooms as a writing space. And the hotel does have a history of some artists staying there, or supporting artists or musicians and traveling acts who lived there, especially when the Moulin Rouge was still open in Vienna. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the artists who were working at the Moulin Rouge would be staying at the Hotel Orient. So I think there is a history of them for sure supporting that, not in this official writer-in-residence way, but I wonder if it's something they'll continue.
And for how long did you stay there? And was it regular, or you were going from time to time, or?
It was pretty regular in the heat of finishing the book, but I would come on Sundays in the afternoons. So Sundays are a pretty quiet time for the hotel because it's an anonymous love hotel. So obviously they tend to cater to people who might need an alibi during the time that they are there. And on Sundays, most people are with their family.
Yeah.
Or I figure at church, atoning for the sins that they committed at the Hotel Orient during the week. But it's a very quiet time. The understanding was that I would never bother the guests, certainly never be taking photographs near them. And I was allowed to just come in and use a different room each time as my writing office for the day.
Did you write a contract about this?
No, it was a handshake agreement.
Did they immediately accept your proposal, or did you have to talk to them for a while? Or
I think it took some time just for them to understand what I was writing and earn the trust. I am an outsider, but generally speaking, I think the family are, like I said, very supportive of artists. So they understood that I could not afford to rent every room in the Hotel Orient. So it was very kind of them to allow me to do that. Also, I have a history of working at hotels. I explained that I would be respectful. It's just me alone. Obviously, for reasons of hygiene, they still have to change everything in the room after I've been in there, even if I'm not using it as a hotel room. But it was very generous of them to allow me to do that. And it let me see all of the little cracks and hidden features and secrets of every room because they're each themed and totally unique.
Did they have to check the manuscript before you sent it to the publisher or before it was published?
No.
Well, they were nice people.
Yeah, I think they saw that I have extreme love for this, but also I think that the Hotel Orient is a place where people can be whoever they are. They don't have anything to hide about what the place is, so I don't think there were any concerns. The book is a work of fiction. None of the characters in the story are real. Some, I did interview the longest permanent resident of the Hotel Orient, an amazing singer named Vera Love, who passed away actually right before things took off with the book. And I would say there are hints of her for sure more than other people I interviewed in the book. And she would have been proud to say that. But even so, all of the characters are fictional. Yeah.
What do they think now when that the book is published? Are they happy or?
It hasn't been published yet. It comes out in
April, right?
I think they're all quite happy about it, and hopefully we might have a fun launch party at the hotel. We'll see.
Nice.
Yeah, I think they've read it, and I'm pretty sure they're happy with it. I think there's an understanding that there are going to be characters that people will assume are the real people. I worked very hard to fictionalize the characters, especially the guests that are in the hotel are the most fictional characters of all of the people in the book.
Yeah.
But I think, there weren't any concerns.
If you think about it, most of the people who will read the book, they have no idea who the hotel guests are. So we will not associate them with anyone we know.
Exactly. I think what's tricky, though, is that because I did research very intensely, because all the locations are real and so on, that people tend to assume that the work is not a work of fiction, even though it is. And I just keep insisting on that.
But it does sound like a work of fiction.
Yeah, but I think people start to wonder what's real, what's not. And you will find many of the details about the hotel, about the locations in the book are quite accurate to the city, but all of the people are fictional.
So it's coming out on April 20th, if I'm not...
It comes out on April 30th.
30th, sorry. It's already on pre-sale on Amazon.
You can buy it anywhere.
Barnes & Noble for the United States is also already on pre-sale, right?
Yep, you can pre-order it now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, at your local independent shop, if you can, or if you're in Austria, at Thalia. So, yeah.
The links are anyway in the description and people will be able to click and order.
Yeah, for sure.
As I was saying, I really enjoyed so far the first 5 chapters. I think it's very intriguing. I think it has very strong characters in it that make me want to read the entire book, and I will finish it as soon as possible, of course. I would like to ask you a little bit about the influences for this, because I cannot help but identify things that I know from before. I write screenplays myself, and it's always that you take a piece from this and a piece from that from time to time.
What did you recognize?
I recognize the beginning, the first opening sentence.
Oh,
not recognize, but I mean it's what I do. What do I associate it with? That's
I would guess Fight Club.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that wasn't intentional. I thought a lot about the first line, and that was the one I wanted to use. But the first line is, the first rule of the Hotel Orient was discretion, which is obviously a nod to Palahniuk, who is one of my favorite authors. I think I'm okay if people want to make that comparison. I would be thrilled.
No, I think it's very cool. That's very cool. I'm trying to figure out what are your influences in the writing aspect.
Palahniuk is probably, to be fair, one of the authors that I've read most. I own a signed first edition of Fight Club.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing. I just snuck into getting it because he was doing a signing at a local shop, and he had found a box of the first editions, and he was like, I'm going to sell them basically for next to nothing, just to support the shop. And I think it was something like $100, and it was the first online purchase I ever made, and you could get it signed. And I asked him to write a note that, just a reminder to keep writing to myself. And I do sometimes turn and pretend that, he really wrote this spontaneously.
Can you say the note? The note?
At the time, I said, when you think that the next word you write in your little journal is going to be the one that kills you, read this, then keep fucking writing. Chuck Palahniuk. Yeah.
I would like to see a picture of that.
I will happily send you a picture of it.
Yes, please.
It's one of my prized possessions. One of the books I took over an ocean.
Yeah. Now that's that's extremely cool when you meet the writers.
Yeah, I wish I'd been able to meet him in person. It was something I ordered online, but it's still extremely special to me.
You meet him. Did you meet any other writer that you like?
Oh God, I went to a crime writing festival a few years ago in the United Kingdom, and that's been amazing and a great opportunity to meet a lot of writers. I have no training as an author. Like, I have no formal writing training. I was a pastry chef, so the only English classes I ever took were sort of literature 101. And I took one course through Curtis Brown that was, the lectures were recorded by Vaseem Khan, who's a great author. And I got to meet him at Harrogate, and he's read the book, which is really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've met so many really lovely, kind crime writers at festivals in the United Kingdom. The crime writing community are astonishingly friendly, but I think we get all of our resentments out on the page. And I think people believe that if you're writing murder mysteries or obsessed with crime, that maybe you have a bloodlust. But actually, I think that crime writers and crime readers have a very strong sense of justice. And we want to believe in a world where logic will prevail over evil. And I think that extends to the personalities you see in crime writers, that they're very kind.
Did you read a lot of Agatha Christie?
I have read a lot of Agatha Christie. I will say I've watched more of the Poirot series with David Suchet. He is the best Poirot in the universe.
What's with Death in Venice? Is it one of your favorite books? You mentioned it in your book.
I don't think I do.
Is it in your book on your bio? I'm sure you wrote it somewhere because I read it yesterday. Nope. This is not far.
It sounds like something AI said on Google.
No.
Death in Venice, I've never written about anywhere. Yeah.
I'll find it.
That's okay.
I'm sure I read it somewhere.
I do love Poirot, though. Like, I like the Poirot series. I have not read the Marple books. And I've read And Then There Were None. And of course, I love Agatha Christie. I would say for influences, of course, there's the Agatha Christie element there. Yeah. But even stronger is probably Raymond Chandler as an influence, because I think the book has a lot of the hard-boiled detective style. And I like to imagine Sterling as she is, for the reader, our equivalent of a hard-boiled private eye. And, you know, she has the personality of the kind of gruff detective with a bottle of whiskey rolling around in his desk drawer, but she looks like the femme fatale who's walking into his office saying, "I'm looking for my cousin. Could you help me?" And I think that's a fun dynamic. She's a very modern woman with vintage style, but her values are for sure also very modern.
Where does the name come from, Sterling?
Sterling?
Any friends or...
I wasn't sure what her name would be. I have a placeholder name that I use for characters.
Which is?
Which is Spencer Kitchen. It is the name of a woman I met once. I thought that was a great character name, but it's a real person's name.
Spencer Kitchen?
Yeah, she's a dresser, like a professional dresser for theater. She dresses Helen Mirren. And I met her after I saw a play that Helen Mirren starred in, and I just adored her. So she is always the placeholder name. So I wanted it to maybe be something with an S, and somebody was, a friend of mine was talking about that they had a student they were working with who had come out to them as non-binary and had started using a new name, and they said the name was Sterling, and I just knew. The moment I heard it, I was like, oh, that's her name. Lockwood is a reference to Sherlock Holmes on one hand, but also to Dawn Lockwood, which is the main character Gene Kelly plays in Singing in the Rain. And Lockwood is not Sterling's real last name. She is living in Vienna illegally and hiding out at the Hotel Orient. And I like to imagine that she picked the name after watching Singing in the Rain. Yeah.
That's a cool story. Do you have any, I don't want to say influence because it's a big word, but any trace of the John Wick's Continental Hotel
No, not at all. A lot of people, I had never seen those movies, but a lot of people compared it. I'd also not watched the Grand Budapest Hotel. I had seen the film Four Rooms. I could say that for sure as a bit of
the one.
Oh, it's great. It's 4 short films by 4 different directors, or it's like 4 vignettes that are filmed within a hotel room, and different directors film each of those stories, and there's a bellhop going from room to room and kind of encountering chaos.
That's it.
Yeah, Tarantino's, I'm pretty sure, is a reference to a short story by Roald Dahl called The Man from the South.
Okay.
I think it was Tarantino who directed it. He's in it. Yeah.
Sure. Oh, I'd never heard about it. I should check it out.
It's really good. Yeah. I would say that probably in the back of my mind was a reference. The book began on a wild night where I actually ended up being invited to the Hotel Orient. It was one of the worst periods of time in my life. And I'd been dumped, fired for the first time. And I went to the Los Bar in Vienna and had a wild night. And at the end of it, a man invited me to the Hotel Orient. And I was like, I won't sleep with you, but would you please take me? And he did. And it was amazing. And when I first walked in, I immediately thought of an Agatha Christie mystery. Mm-hmm. So that is obviously for sure the underlying influence, but I would say the voice is closer to Raymond Chandler.
Mm. So the hotel is
and Mae West is also a big influence.
Okay.
Do you know Mae West films? No. Oh, she would scare you a little, I think. Yeah. You'd like it. Yeah. There's a lot of Mae West, I would say, in Sterling's personality.
Yeah. Okay. The way I imagine the hotel now is with heavy red curtains, dark, corridors are very narrow.
Yeah.
That's how it is?
I wouldn't say the corridors are narrow, but they do keep them more dimly lit because the idea is like when you're in the hallways, you're not necessarily wanting to socialize or be noticed by people. If you do want to socialize, you would hang out at the bar.
I was very surprised to read that the hotel exists. So it really exists, and because it's not very common that they put. I mean, it's the Murder on the Orient Express. We know that the Orient Express exists, but that's a train, and it's a bit different than a local thing that's only in Vienna, and it's small hotel, I'm assuming, because I checked it out a little bit. It doesn't have too many rooms, just a few. Yeah,
it has 20 rooms, and they are numbered kind of bizarrely because I think that the building has kind of grown and shrank over time. But in the book, the hotel is as much a main character as any of the people in the story, and it has a touch of magical realism qualities to it. But after working in the hotel or writing in the hotel and also interviewing a lot of the staff, all of them agree that the hotel in real life is like a person. It has a personality and a stubbornness, and it communicates with you. And you always get that with old buildings because, you know, they respond to the weather and they throw little fits and the radiators don't work, or they hiss at you, or the lights flicker. And that is all very real. It has all the quirks of an old building. And in the book, it's quite alive, and I get to play with that.
What's with the Eden Bar?
The Eden Bar is owned by the same family that owns the Hotel Orient. And at the time that I first began researching the book, their main singer lived at the Hotel Orient and worked at the Eden Bar.
Yeah. Interesting. I also never heard about the bar before. I checked it out online. It's a beautiful bar.
It's really beautiful. It's like stepping back in time.
Yeah.
And it's one of these few places where they still require you to wear a jacket. I think they might have given that rule up, but don't be boring. So that you can rent a jacket too. It's like $5. It's not a big deal.
Nice.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's a really cool place, and I think it's important to try to talk about these places and protect them, because otherwise we will lose them. Some of the locations that I wrote about in book 2 have had to close. It breaks my heart. So hoping once the book comes out that it will help keep the places I've written about alive.
How long did it take you to write the book? From, let's say, from the first idea to publishing it?
I had the initial idea after going to the Hotel Orient with a stranger and realizing that he could have murdered me and just taken my wallet and left, and I would have been a nameless dead body on the floor of room 5. But I went home, slept a few hours, woke up with a champagne headache and the idea for the book. And I knew it was something special. I've loved murder mysteries my whole life. I've always wanted to write one, but this idea felt different. And I let it sit for a few days. And I decided before diving into writing it, since I'd never written a long form piece of fiction, to actually spend some time just studying how to write a novel. And I think that was worth the investment, even though it felt like I wasn't making progress. And I was walking around talking to friends saying, oh, I'm writing a novel, I'm writing a murder mystery. And they would say, oh, how much have you written? I would be like, no, nothing, not a word. But I knew it. I really knew it. And it took me about 13 months to get the first draft. And then about, I don't know, it was about 2 years before the draft was right and really ready to get me an agent. And then eventually, once I got it right, things went pretty fast.
Yeah. Were you writing something before you got this idea? Something
like a novel? Or, I mean, I've always been writing, but I've always called it a bad habit. And for a long time, my motto was, find what you love and do it nights and weekends, lest you ruin it by virtue of making it your job. As a pastry chef, the creative side of decorating cakes was sort of taken away from me, and that was really hard. And I never wanted to do that with writing. So I did professional storytelling on the side. I maintained my blog, but I never wanted to be a novelist because I was afraid it would ruin it. But I fell so hard for this idea that I knew I was going to have to go against that rule. Like, there was just no stopping it.
Do you want to be a novelist now, to live as a novelist?
Yeah, and I am living as a novelist, and I'm very happy to be doing that.
That's one of the greatest achievements. Not many people can do that.
Yeah, I think it's the thing I'm most proud of in my life. I'm so lucky, and I want to give that opportunity to other people. So I know how fortunate I've been, and I try to do my best to share that. And I ran a pitch prize to sponsor somebody to go to this big crime writing festival that I went to for the first time, because that was a big investment, but it changed my life. Nothing necessarily led directly to me getting an agent or an editor, but it taught me about crime writers I didn't know about, and I learned so much, and it just gave me something to believe in and hold on to. And
it's great when people start giving after they have seen the efforts that it takes to accomplish something, and they understand that, okay, maybe someone else needs this as well, and they should do something about it. And typically it takes about 10 books and 50 years when people started giving back. And yeah. I'm glad that you started doing it already with whatever you can.
I think it was just sort of a promise I made to myself at the time that, if I got a book deal where I could afford it, that I was going to do that. And so I felt like I had to keep my promise to the universe.
You were talking before about the publishers in Austria.
Yeah.
You said that they probably might not sell if they publish something in English, or many of them think that way.
I think there are a select few Austrian-specific publishers who publish works in English, but they're not murder mysteries, And my understanding of the German language publishing system is it can be a bit different. There are less agents specifically. Sometimes you can go direct to publishers, and it's not quite the same. I think the big five also all have German offshoots like Penguin and so on. But so I'm not as familiar with the German language publishing system. And I queried American and British agents. I ended up, my main agent is based in the UK because I'm closer to the UK and I have some just connection to the crime writing scene there as well. But I have an agent in the US as well. She's amazing. And they work together as a team.
Nice.
And I've been really fortunate that I got to kind of have that situation where both of them are really involved. And, you know, they're kind of good cop, bad cop sometimes when it comes to giving advice about the manuscript. It's cool.
But I wanted to also ask you on what I started to say that, do you think that we buy a book from publishers or from authors? So why would the publisher be afraid to publish something in English? Because thinking that we wouldn't buy this book in English from this publisher. We only know about 5 publishers worldwide.
Well, you have the big 5 publishers, and I don't...
So this is not the case where we have a Charles Scribner here that if Scribner's publishes in German, then nobody would buy it because people actually go buy books just because they are from Scribner's and they trust them, even though they don't even read the log line.
Yeah, I think there are some smaller publishers that people might buy from. Like, I will buy any book that Viper publishes.
What's the name?
Viper in the UK. I will buy anything that they publish. They're just always great. Like they've never disappointed me. But that's probably...
But we don't have that in Austria, right? I don't think we have publishers that we would just buy because they published it.
Yeah, because there are a few publishers that I like in Austria, but even then they publish different genres. So I wouldn't be buying anything just because it's from that Verlag or whatever. I think we buy books. I don't think it's necessarily about the author, at least certainly not as a debut. That's why being a debut is so hard, is that you don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And I have to convince you to spend your good money to pre-order my book. Please don't pre-order my book. And you have to build up that name recognition. I would be extremely proud if I got to have that one day. And I would say there are several authors who are auto-buy authors for me that if I know that they're coming out with another book, I will pre-order it just because whatever it is going to be is going to be great.
Yeah.
But so I think for the first book you buy for the title, you buy for the concept. And then after that, you will buy probably because of the name of the author. It's hard to say.
Do you buy books based on the cover?
I think the cover is really important. I'm happy that the UK gave me a red cover. The US cover is also really beautiful, though. It's black and gold.
I think I saw that.
Yeah. So I like them both in different ways. And I think they both work to represent the book. But I definitely for sure buy books based on the cover. But I've learned that opinions I had about certain kinds of book covers can be really wrong. So I've tried to stop boxing myself in and say, this isn't for me based on how the cover looks.
I'm like a fish when I see good covers. I just buy it. I don't care how the book is. If I like the cover, I'll buy the book.
Yeah. I think it's tricky. And actually,
or the title.
With crime fiction as well, you asked, okay, do we buy because of the publisher? Do we buy because of the author? But I think actually the question is, especially in crime fiction or series, I don't think it's at all about the author. It's about the character. And I think in long-running crime fiction series, people tend not to refer to them by the author's name or by the official title. They call them whatever the main character is.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to get a film adaptation of it? Or are there already, is there anything going on about it already?
I think that Murder at the Hotel Orient would be very well suited for a television adaptation because of the kind of episodic nature of meeting each of the guests in the different rooms. And then you have the overarching mystery. And I believe very strongly that it will happen one day.
Would it be the next Knives Out?
I do think Knives Out is a very good comparison because it is a contemporary mystery that feels golden age. I would say especially the first movie in the series of Knives Out is a great comparison. But this book is a lot naughtier than that. So, yeah, I do believe it will happen at some point. I think it would have to be a series, and I think people would come back to see more of Sterling.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to become a character that you're probably going to end up writing a few more novels.
I've already actually been contracted to write the second.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So it's going to be Murder at the Hotel Orient 2 or
No.
another story with...
It is another story with Sterling. It involves the Hotel Orient. It also revolves around the opera world in Vienna and
Murder at the Opera.
I'm not sure what the title will be. I have a working title, but now the code name is Project Elephant. That's all I can say for
Project
now.
Elephant.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a mystery about a group of opera singers who are like coming to Vienna to honor their vocal coach who has died. And in the book, he is like a household name. And it's kind of like Eurovision for opera to see all of his students on one stage. And people are, flying into the city to try to get tickets to this concert. And 20 years ago, one of these singers died in a boat accident, but a body is found on the side streets of Vienna, and it turns out to be the singer that everybody thought had died 20 years ago, just as the others are arriving for the concert.
So you're writing now? That's what you're writing?
Yeah.
How do you write? Like, what is your writing process? You write days, nights? You turn off your phone when you write? You don't care about polls?
Turn off my phone. Phone is a huge distraction. Writing book 2 is a beast because you're thinking about book 1 and you find that you're always living out of time, like out of the time that you exist in now, because you're thinking about your dreams of what might happen with book 1. And I've been really lucky so far, but nothing is guaranteed. It's up to the readers to decide if they're going to buy the book. And, I hope that people take to Sterling. There have been a lot of people who have fallen in love with her, which is really validating. But yeah, when I'm writing book 2, it is hard because sometimes I'm trying to market book 1 or just get out of the anxiety of the lead up to publication day. And I write in little bits and pieces. I have a desk at home that I try to make very cozy. And I really need to have no distractions. I need quietness and just to be able to focus. Do I turn my phone off all the time? No. Do I get writing done if I have access to Instagram? No. Book 2 has been an interesting process. I've had to learn a lot about opera and so on. So the reader gets to learn with Sterling, which I think is good because not everybody knows about opera. So I wanted it to be very accessible. And I did a lot of research as well. Like I interviewed a lot of singers. I watched a summer school program for opera students in Vienna. We've done some tours of different theaters and so on. And again, I think the city of Vienna has a strong belief in art, and they are very supportive of creatives. So you never know who might let you backstage somewhere if you just ask nicely.
Sure.
And that's great because I'm nobody at this point. So it's even more amazing to see that they're willing to give me some support. And maybe someday I'll be somebody.
Wait until the book comes out.
Yeah, we'll see.
What is the, do you have any reading plans or tour, or how it's going to work?
There will be a little book tour in the UK around publication date, which is on April 30th. And then I hope to be planning some readings in Vienna in the week after that, once I'm back in town. And then the book is out and everybody can buy a copy.
Maybe at the Shakespeare Company in Vienna?
For sure at the Shakespeare Company. I love the booksellers there.
Yeah. That's I found out not as soon as I hoped I would find out that there's a Shakespeare Company in Vienna.
Oh, yeah.
I did find out a few months after I moved here, but I was disappointed that I had no idea there was one.
Actually, when people say, where did the book start? I tell this story of how I got invited to the hotel, but the real place it started was I'd walked by it many times and wondered what it was, because it has this the hotel has this beautiful stained glass awning, and it just has a mysterious vibe about it. And I was at Shakespeare & Co., and there was this guide to secret Vienna that sat under the counter that was sort of, they love to chat with the customers. So sometimes you're in line for a little bit, and it seemed like a lot of people had read it but not purchased it because it had that kind of dog-eared look. And I opened it and I saw the Hotel Orient on the table of contents and jumped right to that page. And that's when I learned that it was this anonymous love hotel. And I really wanted to go. I wasn't able to go then for several years. And when I finally got invited, it just felt like, fate that I got to go then.
Can someone just walk in there and take a look at the hotel?
The hotel is open for guests. And so if you want to go inside, just go in and book a room. And I think it's not really something that you should go in just to take a look around. You should be respectful of the institution and the rules. And I think I understand that more people are going to know about the hotel now. And up until this point, tourists have never really known about it. It's something for locals. Yeah, and immigrants also tend not to know. And it's very funny when I tell people what I'm writing about, and they give me looks, and I'll say, "Oh, have you ever been to the Hotel Orient?" And everybody says, "No, I haven't," but I can tell based on how they say it if they're lying or not. And it's a really amazing place. I hope that the people who will visit it after reading the book will be respectful and will not share photos, because we have so few places in this world where you can be private and be yourself. And that is a protection for the people who are in the hotel. And I know that you might assume it's just adulterers, but I do believe that they've saved more marriages than they've ended. And the hotel has a history of protecting the queer community in Vienna and protecting sex workers in Vienna. During times when there were sex workers working, they were never really working directly out of the hotel, but they would, of course, take clients there. And the hotel always kept their pimps away from them and protected people. So I think the hotel has done its service to protect people in Vienna, and we should return the favor. Yeah.
It would be interesting if people who visit the hotel because of the book, that if there's a way to write there that they are here because they read the book, so just to have a statistic of how many people are visiting because of the book.
Maybe we
nothing profitable involved. Just
no, that's a nice idea. Actually,
so they can write the mark. I'm here because of the book.
Well, in the book, Sterling has her guest book, which is handwritten, which is what they have there, and you check in under an alias, or they'll just assign you one based on, what you kind of look like and act like when you walk in. So I am D.L. Torin. I'm the author. That's my alias, and I think, maybe there would be a guest book that could be Sterling's guest book, and people could sign it if they stayed at the hotel.
Just to get a number.
They could just put their alias down and say, that they stayed. That would be kind of cool. I love that idea. I'll ask them. If we get Sterling a guest book, for sure.
Yeah, Sterling's book.
Yeah.
Just sign if you visit. No names, nothing. Not even with a...
Yeah, you can just sign with your alias and so on. And then it was you. Yeah.
Yeah. But also for you to come back there in 2 years, 3 years to see how many people visited because of the book.
That would be amazing, actually.
It's kind of a keeping track of if the book is working that way as well. And I understand this time the kind of collaboration that was with you and the hotel, but in 5 years, you can use it for location that can be commission-based, for example. And you can tell them, look, I got 500 people to visit this hotel because of...
Oh, no. I mean, this isn't an advertisement for the hotel, and I think it wouldn't be genuine. I think people are going to visit because they see that I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
But there's no product placement.
I'm not saying that you...
Yeah. But maybe,
There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. I understand that you're writing because you love the hotel.
I think the love is...
You can love many other locations.
It's interesting too,
publicity
because
is high.
You could argue that oh, why wouldn't they let her in? It's great publicity for the hotel if the book gets published. But one, I was nobody. I was a person with an idea. I had no agent and no contract. But two, I think privacy and protecting the hotel is very important to them. And they don't want authors in there disrupting the peace of the guests. So it was not as easy as you would imagine, but I hope that they are happy with what I've put out about the book.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And do you speak German yourself?
I do speak some German. I understand more than I speak. And I learned a lot more dialect for the process of writing the book so that I could highlight that to readers. And now I have my my English editor saying "Oida." It's very cute. Or I think her favorite phrase is "Es mir wurscht." She finds that extremely funny, that you can say "it's sausage" to me.
Sure. I like the explanation of Oida. You wrote it in the book or on your website? I don't remember when I would.
It's in the book.
It's in the book. It's
see if I can read that.
Yeah, see if you can find. I think it's in either chapter 1 or 2.
Yeah, because Oida, it was either going to be chapter 1 or 2 because Oida is such an important word for the Viennese.
Let's see if you can find it. It was an interesting explanation of what Oida means. So what?
There it is.
You found it? Can you read it?
Oida, she said, turning to hide her smile. Oida was the most important word in the Viennese German dialect. It meant everything from, hey dude, to, for fuck's sake, to, sweetheart, I only said your sister was sexy because she reminds me of you. You need to let it go. Yeah, I think it's good. And then there's a great one as well.
I think that's what we don't get a lot in crime, in novels and in crime stories, is that we don't get the funny part of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of humor. And
they are, or maybe I'm not a huge crime story fan. I didn't read a lot of crime stories, but the one
for sure funny murder mysteries, but they tend to be more on the cozy side. I think the book reminds me a lot of the movie Clue, which I think is very funny.
I'll let you read it in a second, but that's pretty much what Knives Out did for the audiences, because they showed a murder mystery, but also it was also fun.
Yeah, the Knives Out is for sure more on the cozy spectrum of things, of comedic mysteries. And I think that's been amazing feedback from reviewers, that a lot of people have said that the book is quite unlike anything else they've read, because it is dark, it's funny, it's sexy, it's a little bit smutty, which for crime fiction is also rather peculiar. And I'm really grateful that the publishers let it be what it is and let it contain multitudes. I think also, so you have two perspective characters who are the main perspective characters. And Sterling is originally American, but she speaks German and speaks dialect. And Andreas, the detective, is Viennese, born and bred. So his chapters obviously have more dialect. And there is a chapter where he gets very drunk. And as the chapter goes on, it's in less and less English and more dialect. And I left 1 or 2 sentences in that passage that I do not explain to the English-speaking readers. So they're there just as my inside joke to the Viennese. But if you read all of the subtext of what he is saying to Sterling in that scene, I think that actually the Viennese will find it a bit more romantic than the English speakers will. There's kind of like an Easter egg of, oh, he really likes her. Yeah. But
so what is this part you're going to read now?
So this is actually from the detective's first chapter, which is probably the one I'm most proud of, because I, at the time, sort of boiled down 7.5 years of living in this city into a few thousand words. And people, like Viennese people who have read the book, have all said that I nailed it. And I get the most laughs for sure in that chapter. And I'm really proud that I can make Austrians laugh and that they see themselves in the book. I think it was incredibly important to me. Where is this? All right. So there is some discussion, but he does say Alte Schwede. But yeah, I say Alte Schwede, he said. He wasn't calling her an old Swede, as the literal translation meant, simply expressing his odd disbelief in Viennese life as in Viennese dialect. Things were easier if you didn't ask too many questions. But yeah, I think it's very cool that the book gets to be written in some dialect. Hopefully it's not too distracting for people, but I would love to hear from people who read the book and then visit Vienna for the first time. Yeah. And I would love to see their eyes sparkle when they're like, someone just said oida. Yeah.
That's going to work, I'm sure. All right. It was a good conversation. I learned a lot about the book. I'll keep reading it for sure. And I'll let you know after I read it.
Yeah.
That's the new cover, right? The upcoming cover.
This is the UK cover. So this is the one you'll be seeing in bookshops in Vienna. It will probably be in the international paperback, but it is also available in hardcover.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, so just check the links in the description, everybody, so you can get the book on press sale. And I know for sure that you get a better price on press sale.
Yeah.
What it says on Amazon at least. So yeah, check it out. And
my website is alessandraranelli.com.
Yes.
You can sign up for my newsletter. And if you check out my Instagram, you will see, if you snoop around, that Sterling has an Instagram account.
Yeah.
So if you want to find out some secrets about the book and the research process, you can follow her.
Interesting. Yes. Follow and check out when Alessandra will be next, maybe signing books around Vienna or maybe the UK. We have listeners in the UK as well, so check her out. Thank you very much. It was a good talk.